Welcome everyone to this intro Zoom circle for our Climate Leadership Cohort Journey. My name is Lev Natan, and I'm the founder and co-director of Alliance for a Viable Future. And I'm just really grateful and humbled to be here with each of you, with all that's going on in life, that you were able to dedicate this time to be here. And also those that aren't here live, welcome you as well to the listening to the recording. So I say thank you to you too for taking this time to focus here on how we're going to energize our regenerative bioregional climate movements. So just going to jump right in. That's why we're here today. Why are we here today? We're in the midst of significant changes. My wife just called me 5 minutes ago. Um, she's at the Berkshire Food Co-op, and literally she's watching a forest fire that just broke out. So that's real right now, in present moment time. Here in Massachusetts, we didn't think that that was going to happen, in other parts of the country over the last number of years. Now, here we are. Um, and we're all aware of the winters and the seasons changing quite significantly over the last 2 or 3 years, much different than when I was growing up, when all of us were growing up. And then, of course, the socio-political and economic turbulence that we're in. So this is why we're here, to respond to that, intelligently. So let me see if I can. So everyone can see the slides and hear me and everything? All right, good. So what I've learned over the years is we need more than just our left brain thinking to navigate the times ahead. We need to, what I've needed to do is to become aware of a calling to engage in this work. And I imagine maybe you use different language, maybe you use the same language, but that there's something inside of you that's bringing you to be here right now, and also that has brought you to circles like this and to focus on these kinds of issues probably for many, many years. So I just want to honor that we each have a calling to be here, and say thank you for listening to that calling yourself. And so invite us to just take a moment. And I like to close my eyes and put my hand on my heart. If you'd like, you can join me and just connect to, I like to call I like to call it the thread of guidance. That's something that I notice in my own life that continues to call me to be in the places that are most meaningful and connected to a life affirming future. I invite you to maybe think about a moment in your life where you really felt that was present. Maybe you were out in nature, maybe you were connecting with another person, maybe you were reading a book. I'm sure there's many moments like that in your life, but I invite you to connect with one moment right now where that calling, that voice in your heart, or however you connected with it, became really clear and conscious. So thank you for bringing that here, so it's part of our circle. And going to invite you to put that feeling, that vision, that memory into words. You can write it in the chat. What is calling you to be here? And you could write it in this way if you'd like, or write it however it comes to you. But you could say, I see a future where, finish that sentence. I see a future where. And I'll share some writing that I did, and then I'll look at the chat and maybe read some of yours. I was waiting for my son to get off the bus a few weeks ago, and these words came to me. I see a future where we are doing precisely what we need to be doing in every sector of society, in coordination and partnership, like birds in formation, so that when my son is 30 years old in 2050, we all feel at ease because we've created the mycelial network of relationships with one another that will allow our children to thrive. So let's see. I see a future where everyone can thrive. I see a future where we remember interconnection and tend to it. I am called to improving my present and my daughter's future. I see a future where everyone is treated equitably and has full access to nature. I see a future where all life is valued. I see a future where we all take the time to care for each other and care for ourselves. I see a future where people can share a connection to each other while being grounded in the land around them. So thank you for everyone. All right, I'll read one more. I see a future where we can all have the clarity and safety to listen to the intelligence of the waterfalls and to the mountains that catch the rain and share generously with us, and we share generously with each other. And there's more and more. Thank you so much for all your sharing. So we'll make sure to save all of these. But let's just connect to that future here for a moment, that we each of us, there's something in what everyone wrote that is synergistic. So all of those futures, we can't do it alone, right? We need, in order, if we're really serious about it, and I know the people who are on this call, I know some of you, and some of you I'm just meeting for the first time, but I know the people that I know who are here are serious about it. And we all know that we can't do it alone, right? We need to follow our calling within the context of a supportive community of practice, or many communities of practice that are interconnected. And that's really the way that I see a way forward, is in circles. And that's really what this work is about. The Climate Leadership Cohort Journey is coming together in circles. And that's what we have developed here in Alliance for a Viable Future, that idea and belief. And the idea of coming together in circles is not new, right? There's very, very deep roots from our ancestors that say if we come together in circles, we're going to be okay. We'll figure it out together. We'll hear the guidance in each other's voices. And then there's a wisdom that grows through that particular way of coming together that isn't present in other ways. So before moving into some of the frameworks that we draw upon, I want to honor all of the roots that have supported me, and then also think about your roots too, your ancestors, the ones that helped us get to this point, the books that we read, the mentors, our colleagues, all of the roots that we have. And to name a few of the frameworks or roots of this work, but this isn't an all-inclusive list, but we're going to move forward with this focus today. The perspective of utilizing our holistic intelligence, that we can't move forward with only our left brain thinking. We need everything that we have to move forward. And then the perspective that we're in a time of initiation, both personally and universally. Each one of us is in a personal journey of initiation, which then makes a universal journey for humanity as a whole. And then the wisdom of circles, which I've mentioned, and that focus on circles being embedded in a mycelial movement theory that's rooted in systems thinking and coalition building. So these perspectives, is are what allows this work to withstand the test of time. I had a mentor who said, if you want to build a conversation that will stand the test of time, you need to build it like a building, with a strong foundation, so that we can move forward and follow through in the most important ways. So the holistic intelligence, right? We of course need to utilize our strategic left brain thinking, but we also need to honor our deeper feelings, intuition, and our real human needs for belonging, trust, and relationship. And through both of those things together, we're able to mobilize the courage that we need right now to stretch and grow into our calling. There's a growing edge that is inviting each one of us to engage more deeply at this time. It's an invitation from life. And so that, in a sense, you could say, is an initiation that we're being invited into personally, right? The cocoon, the caterpillar goes into the chrysalis, into the cocoon, and comes out completely different. For me, over the last 10 or 15 years, immersing myself and just knowing that there are prophetic wisdom traditions from around the world that 2,000, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago passed down stories that said, you're going to be living in a time where you might not think it's possible for us to continue to make it through individually. Maybe I have days where I think I can't make it through. And then looking at the world out there, maybe we're not going to make it. To have those prophetic traditions say there's going to be a time like that. And there is a way. It looks like there isn't a way, but there is a way to navigate. So that's something that I turn to quite often and supports me on this journey of initiation. So just to be in that awareness that each one of us has this personal journey, and then we're coming together and we know we can reflect that back to each other. There's something very encouraging and empowering about that. And then to know that, the human family and really life on Earth is in that turbulent process, uh, but that it is going somewhere, and we can tune into it. And the wisdom of circles is what I believe kind of brings us into that conscious engagement with our holistic intelligence, with that sense of being in a process of initiation. When we sit together in a conscious way and listen deeply to ourselves and each other, when we have that space and time to do that, something really powerful happens. As Margaret Wheatley says, one of the ways of navigating is creating islands of sanity here at this time. And through these islands of sanity, like circles, we're creating a way forward for ourselves, and then that ripples out. And so this is about that ripple effect here. The work of Erica Chenoweth from Harvard University, she studied what does it take to oust an oppressive regime. So that's not necessarily what we're doing, at least at this moment. But it goes to show that she said only 3.5% of a given population is what it takes to transform a whole society. And there's over 100 years of research to show that from the whole globe. So if we do the math, right, that's less than 5,000 people in Berkshire County. And then you can keep looking at the math. And then we have Buckminster Fuller, who said it's actually just the square root of the total population um, that is needed to create that ripple effect. So if we look at the square root of Berkshire County, that's only 360 people, which is an incredibly attainable and realistic number to build a coalition. And a lot of these relationships already exist. And that's why we call it the mycelial movement theory. The mycelium, that substrate of mushrooms, right? The roots of mushrooms that connect the roots of forests, is an inspirational and very practical perspective for our coalition building. And so, what if we built our relationships and networks like an old growth forest? When I think about that question and just look at this picture, I get a feeling in my body, stability, calm, intelligence. There's that other aspects of our intelligence in our body, in our heart. There's something that makes sense to me here, to be inspired by nature in that way, in a very practical way. And then jumping back into our left brain, we can see that the collective impact framework is a framework that's been used throughout the United States, and I think the world as well, for the last 20 years out of Stanford University, that has particular practices in order to build complex coalitions for a regional vision. For example, that it's not just one thing that's going to make the difference, but interacting, weaving together of many different projects and initiatives to bring people together in a structured way to achieve social change. And here's another way to think about it. This image from the work of Barbara Marx Hubbard, whole systems design, that we need all hands on deck, like birds in formation. I think about also Rupert Sheldrake's work of morphic fields, morphogenetic fields, how nature and animals communicate with each other literally in their bodies and telepathically. And again, what would our movements look like if we continued to follow in that way while still working strategically with our left brains? So, this is kind of what we're bringing together and speaking about and listening to in our climate leadership cohort journey. It's not about having answers, right? It's about being in a practice and a process that creates a pathway forward for each one of us individually in our respective fields and sectors. And then as the process unfolds, the partnerships and the tangible projects become very clear for each one of us. So it's a natural process. And so this is what it looks like for next year. Starting on January 14th will be our first Zoom circle. And our Zoom circles are 9:30 to 11. And then for the in-person retreats, it's a full day from 10 to 5. And we do that about once a month. So there's a rhythm, there's a breath, an inhale and an exhale of connection, having time together and then having time to reflect on your own, and and then also to be able to reach out in between our meetings to me or to other members of the cohort to maintain the connection and the process that unfolds. And so the journey begins with listening deeply through the winter. Winter is a natural time for that. And as we emerge into spring and into summer, we move from exploring into experimenting. And what are the things that are most alive when I listen deeply, in my work, in my relationships, in my networks, that I want to speak about. I want to ask questions. I want to connect with people. And so there's a natural experimenting phase through spring and summer to reach out and partner for change. And then towards the end of the summer into the fall and moving back into winter, that experimentation naturally unfolds into an expression of particular projects or initiatives that are finite but are embedded within a larger vision and trajectory of movement, and that's embedded within these partnerships that are naturally emerging. And that also includes the emergence of connection with this year's cohort. That's why I'm really excited. We have some of the members here who are going to speak in a moment from this year's cohort, because each year that we have this cohort journey,
Saw
we're
that. It looked
building.
good. Yeah, it looked good.
Okay. If you can mute yourself, I'm almost done. Um, but yeah, so that's what we're building towards, that mycelial network development process. That number of 360 people here in the Berkshires, to have a coalition of relationships at that level. Maybe that will take 5 years. Maybe it'll take 10 years. Maybe it'll take 3 years, depending on how fast we scale. But it's not going to take, it's totally doable and reasonable. And then that network exists and continues to grow. And through that network building, these uh, sentences that you wrote, I see a future where, right, we can begin to really establish uh, coherent plans and strategies um, through the action that's already unfolding. And this is a really important framework that we use, again, from one of my mentors called centerpiecing. And I'm just going to end with this and then invite some of the cohort members from this year to share their experience. But someone was asking me, who ended up being the first person to join this year's cohort. She was saying, I'm really excited about a project that I want to create, and she said, I don't quite know how I'm going to do it. And I said, well, that's perfect. And that's right where you want to be. And we start with the past, everything that I know from all of my experience, those roots of the tree. And that past allows for the future, that arrow across the top. Most of the time, we go right to the now, and that's what stops us at, I don't know how I'm going to do it. This is what I want to do, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. Well, we go beyond the how to the what. This is the future that I see. And we create a lot of support around that capacity to breathe and see and sit, excuse me, to breathe and sit and exist in that future with all of the clamoring voices that are clamoring for our attention to say, hey, no, that's not possible. But that's the focus of a cohort. That's the power of a circle to say, no, we're going to focus in and say, this future does exist. And then that invites the now, as we meet throughout the year, that sensing into the how. And it's not necessarily a 3 to 5 year strategic plan, because can any of us do that anymore with all the turbulence that exists in the world? Can we make 3 to 5 year plans? We can have visions and we can have, yes, this would be great to do that. But then we need to sense, we need to use our holistic intelligence to connect into what wants to happen right now. And that process establishes a field of play. And it's good to make it more of a game, to play, to be light about it all. Uh, while we do acknowledge the seriousness of the situation that we're in, but to find a way to be in that paradox. And it's that inspiration of the future that we see that allows us to be playful in it. So I'm inviting everyone that's here and everyone that's listening to the recording to join the cohort. If you're feeling even a 6 out of 10, to start the conversation with me and with other participants by filling out the application. So I'll invite you again at the end of the call, but I just wanted to say you're invited, and I encourage you to jump in. Now is the moment of power, right? It's all happening around us. So these next years are really crucial for all of us to be engaged. So that's what I wanted to say right now, and then invite some of our current cohort members to step in to the circle and share, whatever you're feeling called to share as the conversation is unfolding right now. So we have Micah, Beth, Veronica, and Kitu is here. So thank you guys for all being here. And I think we have 10 or 15 minutes for your sharing. So, 2 to 3 minutes each would be wonderful. And then we'll have about 10 minutes at the end of the call for folks to ask questions, and so we can end on time. So, Micah, would you like to jump in and share? I love how you talk about the mycelial network and how important that is in your thinking too. So that would be wonderful.
Sure. Hey,
Yeah.
Lev. Hey, everybody. Nice to be here. My name's Mike Mortali. I'm the director of the Mindful Outdoor Leadership School at Kripalu, and I wrote a book called Rewilding a few years ago. And big part of my work is facilitating a reconnection between modern humans who are spending a lot of time, in buildings and looking at screens like this. There's a whole generation of people, and even those of us who aren't, didn't grow up with this technology find ourselves on this stuff, 11, 12, 13, 14 hours a day. And so about, I don't know, about 15 years ago, I started noticing that and um, felt called to shift my career into a place where I could help people start to rewild their lives and start to form a loving and meaningful bond with their local lands again. And one of the things we know is that caretaking behaviors as human beings, one of the things that I find really troubling these days is there's just such a negative um, um, view on human beings. It's like the only way we can be on this earth is destructive. And I think the reality is that certainly we can be a destructive force on the planet, but so many cultures for so long saw themselves as caretakers of land. And I think that we know that that caretaking way of living, it comes from having a loving bond with place. And if you sever that bond for children as they grow up, if they don't feel a connection to land, then how could we expect them to caretake land? So for me, it's all about fostering that bond. And it's very personal and it's very individual and it's very local. And so when Lev asked me to be a part of this, it was just a immediate yes for me. I love the fact that this is a local operation, that this is all about this bioregion that we're in. I really believe that the best movements are going to come from people representing their own local lands. I trust that more than I trust, bureaucrats from other countries dictating plans. I really trust local people protecting and knowing and speaking on behalf of their lands. And so that's what I love about this. And it's been a great opportunity. I've gotten to meet so many wonderful people in this community doing this work. And Lev's really guided us very masterfully, and it's been very sweet. And there's a gentleness to it. There's a nice rhythm to it. At no point did it ever feel like overwhelming or too much. And I think that the relationships we've built together are going to sustain. And so, yeah, I'd encourage folks to jump in, and um, you'll learn a lot, and you'll have a lot to offer. So I'll just leave it there. Thanks, Lev.
Thank you so much, Micah. As you're talking, I just want to mention, as you're focusing on the local, um, that there's some folks here I know uh, from other neighboring regions, up from Vermont, Connecticut, New York, and you're also all welcome to be part of this year's cohort. That's part of the magic of the mycelial connectivity. That the vision is for this work to become a northeast coalition building effort, and so that natural emergent process of folks coming and being part of it here in the Berkshires is is part of the mystery of us being called uh, into engagement and then seeding the work in other regions that are neighboring. I just want to mention that. Okay. Yeah. Veronica. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Lev. I'm Veronica. I work at Berkshire Pulse. I'm the community and school program manager. We're a center for arts, dance, and the creative arts in Housatonic. And I am so grateful I was a part of this cohort. I mean, when Lev asked Berkshire Pulse and I was able to do it, like I was able to represent Berkshire Pulse for this cohort, I was like instantly kind of like I instantly was like, yes. I was kind of relieved in a way, like someone in this community is making time for people to focus on the most important thing. And it's the thing that like when you're at work, I work at a dance organization. I don't get to think of how dance relates to like the environment or how we can be a part of this. And he like made time for all of us to do this and seeing the structure of like full day retreats. I knew it was going to be powerful. And and then it was more powerful and inspiring and connecting than I originally even thought. The the framework for me was really powerful of the spaciousness and how everything has a time and a season to focus, inward on yourself and then working with other people and following that framework and how that connected to a breakthrough project. It was just very like supportive to have that because when you're on your own, it's like having the structure of dreaming and visioning can be so uh, intimidating, like you don't know you have time to just ask questions and time to, you know that, but like for someone to facilitate and be like, that's okay, you're in this bubble right now. Um, uh, yeah, it's just been so powerful and the connections and the times I've left the retreats or our Zoom meetings just feeling so much more hopeful. Just knowing like if I feel this way after our retreat, like I've learned so much from everyone, what everyone's already doing, what everyone is visioning, which you don't always get to know that about like people in your community, like what they are envisioning for the future and how that's like planted seeds for me. Like I just started reading a book someone recommended like on month 2 Becoming Kin is the book. It's really great. And just knowing that those are seeds that I'm still like planting and growing and that other people are also doing that just gives me so much more like hope for the future and for our community, knowing that those are only growing now that we're connected. So very grateful for you, love. I really do think you've made time for us to do this most important work that it would be hard to do this any other way, like you've brought us all together. So yeah, I'd really encourage people to try to join. It's really powerful and it affects all the ways that I've worked with the group and individually. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Really feels good to hear all that. Um, Beth or Kitu, who feels called to jump in? Beth, would you like to?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, happy to be here, Lev, and to join the group this morning. So my daily work is with the Berkshire Natural Resources Council, and I've been serving as their Director of Conservation. So my work is with the land and landowners in Berkshire County, and with the idea of stewarding the lands that our organization is charged with managing and stewarding, and working with the landowners who are part of our community um, to think about what they're doing with their land, and also the history of the land and the history of conservation in Berkshire County was one of the tasks that I was charged with by my organization to think through and try to help us discover more about the history of conservation in this part of the country. And so that all that is a part of the work that I was doing when Lev approached BNRC, my organization, to have someone come be part of this cohort. And I was very enthusiastic about being that person, because I had been working as a cultural geographer all my life, and working on ideas of how culture and nature intersect, and how people and land work together, and exploring that in a lot of different places on the planet and in different ways. And so it seemed like a natural fit for me, and I was very excited to be part of this group in the Berkshires, because I have worked with the idea as a geographer of the bioregion, for a long time. And so this is some of the things that we were exploring this past year, are things that I've been exploring for a long time. So to be able to have it be place-based, both with my work, my past work and my current work in conservation, and to have the space to think through some of those specific historical relationships of people to the land in this part of the country, and to have the space to think that through, and then bring back what I was learning from others in the cohort to my organization through just the way what I learned from deep listening with others, to be able to bring those really skills, or experiences, I guess, back to my organization on this topic of conservation was fantastic. I just loved the space that was created for me to do some deep listening to others who I might not have worked with, or been in contact with, were I not in this group. And just really learning to be present with others and listening deeply was a practice for me with this group that I was learning to do. And it's been it has really strengthened, and that practice has really strengthened my own um, sort of drive and vision to do this bioregional work. So yeah, I would definitely encourage you, if you're feeling the calling, to make the time to do it, because it's very expansive, and it will feed you for sure, and help you in your own journey and your own thinking. So grateful to my fellow cohort people who the connections that you grow with your cohort are really amazing, and of course thankful to Lev for his leadership, because he is practicing growing his leadership skills, and he's doing a great job with that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Beth. Wonderful. Kitu, So Kiti will be our last share, and take your time, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here and happy to see all of these prospective members on the call, and just to be kind of visioning like, oh, I wonder what your year will look like now that I'm almost at the end of mine. If you do decide to join. And uh yeah, I'm really sad. We've got our last in-person meeting this week, and I'm really sad that that's our last one, because these meetings have been especially the in-person ones have been really um really impactful in my year so far, and in so many ways. I think what really called me to this, that felt so exciting and has continued to feel really important, is that Lev is creating a context for a visionary space. It's like really being in a visionary space. And personally, I feel like we don't have enough of those kinds of contexts to really call out people to just like, let's be visionaries together, and let's not be rational and realistic for a moment. Like, we do enough of that. Let's just really dream big, and let's hold each other and support each other in that, on the personal, on the organizational level, on the community, the landscape. Yeah, it's a lot of like nested levels of development that have been held and hosted and invited by what Lev has facilitated. And I think it's been incredible in this first like pilot year, and I know it will continue to get deeper and richer and more nuanced as each cohort comes through and there's more learning. And yeah, I mean, so I was invited in, and it was like, how could I say no to an invitation and an opportunity like this? Like, of course I'm going to say yes. Like, this is incredible. Thank you so much. Um, and the shares that have come in so far from my other cohort members, I don't want to I echo so much of what's been said. And I think what has been the most important thing for me is having this forum and this sense of community that is checking in every month. And like this year, I mean, the arc of a year, so much can happen. And it's so nice there's this like feeling of kind of homecoming, of like, okay, every month we check in, where we meet each other where we are, we sort of see how things have changed. It's a moment for reflection, but also for growth. And all of this is so relational, and it's so focused um on really building community through bolstering our leadership and all of the different ways that we are each showing up to be leaders, and that we want to be showing up as leaders. And I think Lev is really focusing on a place or an area that needs a lot of strengthening in like the world that we're living in, that we really need to be bolstering the networks and the communities of the leaders and how they're showing up. And because really, like, we're all leaders in different ways. We all have leadership to offer. And so that's strengthening all of us, each of us individually and all of us together, and then also weaving across the landscape. And I think that's such a powerful vision to be participating in. Like, it's such an honor and a privilege to be like, yes, I want to, like, I get to show up for that. I get to be part of that. Fantastic. So yeah, I think coming like now at the end of the year, I think the biggest thing that's coming up for me is I feel a lot less lonely, because I have this cohort of people who are not working in the same field, but we're all working towards the same goal. And so um yeah, I'm deeply, deeply grateful for that, because I often, I think, feel in my work. I didn't say anything about what I do. I run a nonprofit that is called Wellspring Commons, based in the Housatonic River Valley watershed, but we're also working across nested scales out to the forests of the Northeast bioregion across the Northeast US. And it's we're working towards weaving a holistic understanding of what it means to live in place. And so it's mostly about like, what is our relationship with the land that we live with and that we live on. And interestingly, I find that can sometimes be a very lonely place. And so this cohort has brought a lot of nourishment to me. And I'm really grateful. And I highly recommend joining because I think in the way that Lev is setting this up, there are so many inputs. It's just like on all the levels, there's just like so much richness to be gained. So thank you.
Thank you, Kitu. And yeah, thank you again, Micah, Veronica, Beth. Yeah, it's really affirming to hear all of that, and yeah, hope it's helpful for everyone. And I imagine, and the four of you are, would be available for conversations, and that's really the point, right? Not just should I join this, but once those of you who join step into the circle, then we're building something all together, as a larger network. So yeah, we're 5 minutes to the hour, and if anyone has a question, or you can either write it in the chat, or if you want to say something, you can do that too. Yeah, Chris.
Hi, everyone. I am feeling drawn to join. The biggest stumbling block for me right now is the May 27th in-person retreat. I've just heard how important these and impactful the retreats are, and I can imagine that would, that they are critical to having the full experience. And my godson is being married in Montana a few days after that, and the plan was to fly out there on the 27th. It is the day after Memorial Day, and I'm wondering if that date is presenting a complication for anyone else, or am I the only one that has plans around that time?
Well, those kinds of logistics are hard to talk about all the people, but I, there are even Kitu, has missed one retreat, and it's still she was still able to receive a lot from it. So if you do have to miss, then that's I still encourage you to jump in.
Okay, I just did want to plant that notion that, geez, you said about once every month, and I was wondering if May 20th, the previous
Yeah,
Tuesday, is off the table. Just put it out there, and thank you
yeah,
for letting me know that missing one is not the end of the world.
yeah, yeah. It's not, life happens, and being together is valuable. So it's like part of the conversation is about the living in paradox, right? Of you know just doing our best in each moment. So I did just put the link in the chat to apply. It's a Google Doc link. You can also go to the website. I'll put that link in the chat too. And yeah, there's more information there. And the video that we created um, is quite moving as well. You can hear from more folks in the cohort. I'm just going to put this link in the chat here. And I do want to just say something, that this year we are asking for a registration fee. And, in the spirit of reciprocity and solidarity economics. Um, so, we want this work to be viable into the future. So when you get to that part of the application, it says at the beginning, if you want to do this, we'll make it work. And we do have partial funding from foundations. So we're really grateful for that. So I am confident we'll be able to make it through the year. And I have, budgeted in getting the support from participants this year, and then there's the magic of, those who can contribute, wonderful, and those who need support to participate, we want you to be there in the circle with us too. So, and that's part of the relationship building, part of the conversation, to be real about that. So when you get to that part, you can just say, hey, I need to talk to you if you need to talk to me, and we'll talk about it and make it work. So just wanted to say that. We're at the top of the hour. I'm happy to stay for another, 10 or 15 minutes, whatever it takes. If you want to talk about anything more, ask questions. If not, thank you so much for coming today, everyone, each and every one of you. It's very encouraging, even myself, like what Kitu was saying, this is for me too. So having us all coming together here and this remarkable group of people right here, right now is very nourishing for me that you all showed up. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, yeah, I do want to just also say thank you to Daniel Roth here, who's here, who's been part of the organization, helping for the last 2 or 3 years, and we had a lot of conversations to design this work. So just wanted to give you a shout out, and then yeah, excited to see people that I know here and new people too. So looking forward to what happens in the coming year. But yeah, I'm encouraging you, if you're feeling it, fill out the application, and that's really the beginning of the conversation. It's not a commitment that you have to sign up or you have to do it, but it starts the process because there is limited space, and yeah, want to get this all buttoned up in the next 2 to 3 weeks for sure before the holidays. So looking forward to continuing the connection.
Thanks, love.
Thank you. Put it back. Yeah, welcome, Darlene.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that when I jumped on board and signed up for the cohort, I really didn't know how I was going to structure my time to make it work, like make it work, because I travel for work and I go all across the country all the time, and I'm in a variety of different places. And then right after I signed up, I got a job offer that's 3 days a week, Wednesday through Friday in Boston. So I don't have to worry about it. And then today for this meeting, I was supposed to be working, and then things shifted and I was available. So I don't know. I never could have figured that out. It just happened. And so I was really grateful that I was able to be here today. And for me, it's really important to stay connected because there is a lot of not so hopeful messages in the airwaves, and I feel hopeful, and I sometimes don't know why I do. It just seems counterintuitive to what I see around me. So I'm really excited to be looking forward to being part of this group where I can hear messages of hope and like let my brain absorb that a little bit.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Darlene. Yeah. Yeah, there definitely is a magic to it that we were aware of last year or this year, with the current cohort, and to name that, that's part of the conversation. It's what you're saying is like, wow, how does that kind of thing happen?
Yeah, I can't explain it.
But it does happen, and that's pretty amazing since all of our meetings are on Tuesdays, right? And then so yeah, I'm very excited to have you and
me too.
get started. Yeah. Yeah, thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for organizing.
Absolutely. Cool. And yeah. Hi, Leah. You're still here. Do you want to say? Oh, you're still muted. Wait a sec. Wait a sec, you're muted.
Hi. Yeah, I've lost the picture. I was just about to leave and I heard you say, "Hi, Leah." And no, I'm very glad I was on this conversation. And I'm I'm really thinking very seriously about it. There are a lot of considerations, but I will definitely fill out the application and be in touch with you. It sounds like um yeah, it's weaving together for me a lot of strands that haven't fully been joined over the years in terms of my own work. I've found fruition in certain projects that I've been involved in, but now I'm at a point in my life where there are new ideas burgeoning, and I'm not quite sure where they're all leading or how to implement them or even how to envision the implementation. And so I think it could potentially be a really great space for me to be in to think about all those things. On the other hand, I'm just thinking it through about the time commitment and all of those kinds of things too. So yeah, but I'm definitely staying in touch.
Wonderful. It's good to hear your thought process, and yeah, look look forward to staying in touch in the conversation about it.
Absolutely. Okay.
Awesome. All
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
Wonderful. We did it.
Bye.
All right.